I want to say thanks a lot to the Veterans League for bringing us together. To what the chairperson has said correctly, is a political school. We've come to engage one another here in a process of political education. And I from the remarks that comrades have made, it seems that we listened quite carefully to the two presentations that were made. And I think it was very, very important that we listen to those presentations. The first presentation is making a fundamental statement, a statement of fundamental importance to the movement, which is that they have, over all of these years, there's been an organized group of people in our society who've set themselves the mission to destroy the ANC. And that they continue to work to destroy the ANC up to this day. When Comrade Tami made his presentation, he said there are a whole number of things that he doesn't want, he doesn't have time to mention, but are in the document he was presenting. I'll just give you one example of the matters that he was talking about. He referred to the Nugent Commission of Inquiry. I'm sure if I said to comrades here, can you please raise your hands, people who read that Commission of Inquiry report? I doubt if there'll be a single hand. And yet, comrades, that report is very, very important. The reason President Ramaphosa appointed the Nugent Commission of Inquiry, Nugent is a former judge, was because SARS, the South African Revenue Services, the South African Revenue Service was underperforming. The amount of money it was collecting as state revenues was decreasing, which meant that one day the ANC government will not be able to pay salaries of civil servants. That's why that commission was appointed. Why is the South African, now let me say, the South African Revenue Service, as you know, SARS, is responsible for something like 98% of state revenues. So if SARS does not raise the money for the state to function, the state will collapse. So the revenues that SARS were collecting were going down, which means what the ANC government could do was going down. And what the Nugent Commission found was that there was a deliberate process to destroy SARS. That a group of people sat somewhere, this is a judge saying it, not me. A group of South Africans sat there and said, this ANC government must fail. And one of the things you must do to make sure that it fails was to deny this government the revenues it needs to pay civil service, to pay the police, to pay the army, and so on. And the interesting thing, they did not steal 1 cent. It was not to steal money. It was to destroy this institution, which generates 98% of state revenues. I'm saying that's an example of the intervention of the counter-revolution to make sure that the ANC fails. So the issue, comrades, that Tammy is raising is a critically important matter for us as members of the ANC to decide what we do. Because it also means that as we try to correct these things which are wrong, these people want the ANC to fail. We'll work to make sure that we fail. Because they don't want the ANC to survive. So I'm making these comments to save. Fortunately, Comrade Tammy said he's going to leave that whole document with the Veterans League. I do hope that the Veterans League will make it possible for people to access it. Really, it's very critically important, comrades, that we must understand this. These are the conditions in which the ANC exists and the conditions in which the ANC functions. There are people that were organized whose mission is the ANC must fail, the democratic revolution must fail. We need to understand that. The second document presented by Comrade Percy, that document is on ANC renewal. It arises from the National Conference decision taken by ANC National Conference in 2017. Both Comrade Tammy and Comrade Percy cited that. The ANC must renew itself even for its own survival. So what happened was that these comrades here, the Veterans League, when they saw that nothing was being done to implement that decision, they then decided as a Veterans League that they must do something about that because of its importance. So the document that Comrade Percy was presenting is a document of the ANC Veterans League. Because the decision of National Conference says there must be renewal of the ANC, the National Executive Committee must lead this process, that's the 2017 decision, and must report to the next NGC. I'm saying the ANC Veterans League decided to take up this matter. And that report from the Veterans League was with the ANC officials before the next national conference. Because the Veterans League said, in order to implement this decision, this is what we're proposing. Because the conference decision, as I was saying, said renew, but did not explain what specific steps must you take in order to renew. That's what the Veterans League decided to do and submitted that document to the leadership. So that document is at ANC headquarters. So that's the document that Comrade Percy is a detailed breakdown of the practical steps that they suggest should be taken in order to effect the renewal. And I'm sure Comrade Percy did not say this, but I do hope that he will also leave a copy with the Veterans League so that the Veterans League can also share it with all of us. So when we trying to answer the question, when you say renew the ANC, what does that mean? So that's why it was step 1, step 2, step whatever. So those two documents will be with us, comrades. On Friday, we had a meeting with some of the leadership from the region, both Nelson Mandela and Sarah Baartman. And one of the issues that was raised there was the negative impact of factionalism. This is very, very bad disease impacting on these two regions. Factionalism. So when we asked, what are people being factional about? What are the political issues or ideological issues? These things that people are differing about. So they then constitute these various factions. No. It's not either political or ideological or anything about that. It's positions in order to access resources, in order to put them in their pockets. That was the response. The factionalism is based on that. So there is an obvious question that arises from that answer, which we took it as a correct assessment, as a correct statement. But I'm saying there's a question that arises out of that. The question then is, are these people ANC? They are not. You cannot be ANC and your mission is to get power in order to enrich yourself. That's not an ANC person. Now there's a problem. There's a word in English, Comrade Chair. I don't even remember what it's called in POS. Some Humphrey might help. It's a conundrum. What is a conundrum, guest clause? Think about that. And this is a conundrum. The regions, these two regions, they have to go to regional conference. Among other tasks, to elect regional leadership of the ANC. But I'm saying, by the way these people are behaving, they are not ANC. And now you are going to call them to conference to elect an ANC leadership. What kind of leadership is going to emerge from there? It's not ANC. And yet the ANC constitution prescribes that they must go to conference. The question that arises, in a sense, it's somewhat of a chicken and egg thing. What comes first? Is it renewal of the ANC that comes first, or conference that comes first? And we are saying conference comes first. But who are these delegates? These people who say are delegates. I'm saying, comrades, the issue then that is raised about renewal becomes very critically important in terms of the survival of the movement. And in a sense, takes priority over everything else. Because without this instrument, the ANC, we're unable to solve any of our problems. Not a single major problem will solve without this organization called the ANC. Properly organized, ethical, strong, and all of that. So the renewal process is very important. So, but this is a political school of the Veterans League. So I don't know what the Veterans League is going to do with the outcomes of this political school. Comrade Chair, maybe you will answer that to your members. Because I would imagine that what the Veterans League will want to do in this region or these regions is to report to the political structures of the movement in this region. We held a political school. This is what was said, this is what we learned, and this is what we think should happen. Because this matter of the renewal of the ANC is very critical, very central to the question of the survival of the movement, as National Conference said in 2017. It has to happen. If we want the movement, the ANC, to be the kind of organization it must be. In order to pay to do what the ANC historically its mission is. The historical mission of the ANC is to serve the people of South Africa. We must restore the ANC to that position. Can't be done without the renewal of the ANC. The Veterans League can't take a decision that there must be renewal. It requires the structures of the movement here to say, what do we do about that? The reason, comrades, I said we're going to be short apart from aeroplanes is make this one point. I hope we can, all of us, agree here that we will attend to this matter of the renewal of the ANC in the way that Comrade Percy was describing. That we can convince the other structures of the ANC in the area to say, we need this renewal of the ANC, and it can be done in the following way. If we take a decision like that, what I want to promise, a number of us came from another province to come into the Eastern Cape. If we take a decision like that, Comrade Chair, I want to promise that we'll come back and work with you on that renewal process. Because it's a common challenge. It's a common challenge facing all of us ANC wherever we are in the country. I want to promise that if we say, let's engage that process of the renewal of the movement, Comrade Percy will come back, Tammy will come back, Max will come back, Smarts, you belong here, I will come back, and so on. Because I'm saying, comrades, this is a common task. We can't allow the counter-revolution to succeed to destroy the movement. No, we can't. It doesn't matter how powerful it thinks it is and all of that. And we can't allow that these people who organize themselves within the movement into factions in order to get power, in order to enrich themselves, we can't allow the movement to be led by people like that. And so we have to intervene. We have to intervene in this process of renewal, as Comrade Percy was describing it. We've got to intervene in that process. And if we handle that thing correctly, as we must, then we will defeat this counter-revolution that Tammy was talking about. Thanks, comrades, for coming. We will come back depending on what you decide. Thanks a lot. Amandla.
Leadership of our movement in Sarah Batman and in Nelson Mandela. At the back of the two presentations, at the back of the inputs briefly, where comrades commented and gave us a mood of how you feel about your heritage of Govan Mbeki and Raymond Hlaba, of Nondwe Mankahla, of Helen Joseph. Comrades, as Veterans League, we saw it fit and responsible as cadres and revolutionaries of this movement, not just to talk and listen to this school, but commit through a pledge, an oath that we shall renew and rebuild the heritage of Sarah Baartman. We therefore call your consciences and commit ourselves that firstly, by acknowledging the problem, which is the betrayal within, that the ANC's moral authorities eroded through corruption, factionalism, and self-interest, that the resolution of the conferences of the ANC to renewal, rebuild, and calling for ethical leadership have not been implemented. And as such, we need to do something about it. That is why we are here. We're not here to waste the whole of your Sunday without committing ourselves that we want to claim back this heritage of this African continent, the African National Congress, our heroic and revolutionary movement that we've got to defend with everything that we have, hence this presentation. The call to action, comrades, about what is to be done. And the only thing to do is to restore the moral center of this movement. That's why you are here today. To enforce accountability and lifestyle audits, by the way. To reaffirm through the eye of the needle that we need to re-anchor leadership selection and quality of that leadership. We want to implement the renewal and rebuild resolutions, and of significance, reconnect the ANC with the people. That is why you are here spending half a day, Comrade Smart. We are here in this school to pledge and commit ourselves that we shall defend the National Democratic Revolution, which is about ourselves. Otherwise, the question would be, why were we fighting? We could have long submitted to colonialism, but we refused. We formed Umkhonto weSizwe, Comrade Lux, as part of the strategic offensive against colonialism. That is why it is correct that you exist as War Veterans League. To honor the legacy of our forebears, we pledge to emulate the courage and integrity of Chief Albert Luthuli, Nelson Mandela, Moses Kotane, Oliver Tambo, Charlotte Maxeke, Reverend Kalata, Govan Mbeki, Raymond Mhlaba, Florence Matomela, Walter and Albertina Sisulu, Christian, and many other heroes and heroines of this heroic movement. That, comrade, we pledge, and I would like to get an indication whether you raise your hands to confirm this part of this agenda of this political school, that we will promote political education and citizen participation, Comrade Kupai, and I would imagine you will also report to the NEC about the importance of this gathering, about the importance of this political school. That part of it, we also want to avoid to be prisoners of our own bureaucracies. That's why we're able, not necessarily, we have to have conferences, but to have a school, to have a chance to look at ourselves and reflect, as it was done by Comrade Tenteni and Dr. Mahlat. That, comrade, to unite the movement in purpose. That the renewal of this oath, comrade, I would like you to indicate with your hands, we pledge to tell the truth about the ANC's conditions. We pledge to act with courage to rebuild it. We pledge to lead with humility to serve our people. We pledge to renew our spear and the shield, the African National Congress, not in words, but in deeds. That we pledge to restore its moral compass defend its legacy, and rebuild its soul. We pledge to be the generation that turned the tide. And if it takes this afternoon, Comrade President, so be it. Obaba lo Chaka, they will report to the structures about why we don't have time. We don't have luxury of bureaucracies within this movement. We have urgency to rebuild this heritage.